Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am AA Ron, and this is the Inclusive Dad Podcast, where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, rate, or review the show on your favorite platform. We truly appreciate your feedback and would be honored if you shared the podcast with friends and family who might benefit. If you want to support us in our mission, please click on the link in the show description. Today, my guests are Papito and Heather. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, for sure. So a little background for my listeners. I met you guys in person in January 2017 when I flew up to Cap Haitian. I'm in Haiti to visit you guys in the northern part of Haiti. In March 2016, I had gone down to Port-au-Prince on a mission trip. And I have a daughter, Cecilia, who uses a wheelchair. So in preparation for my trip to Haiti the first time, I was very anxious, scared, because I had heard or had the fear that when I came to Haiti, I would see people with disabilities not being treated well. Before I came there, I was very anxious, nervous about that. When I got to Haiti in March of 2016, I really didn't see a lot of people with disabilities. Didn't come across that too much. After that, I somehow found you guys on Facebook, reached out to you. So on my second trip to Haiti in January of 2017, I had it set up that after I was in Port-au-Prince for a week, I would fly up to meet you guys. So that's how we met for the first time in Haiti. So that's a little backstory from my perspective. Can you guys tell a little bit about yourself and what you guys do?
Sure. So my name's Heather, and I started going to Haiti in 2007, just on short-term mission trips, visiting an orphanage that had kids. They actually only had one little girl with disabilities, so I wasn't really open to many, opportunities to work with children with disabilities back then. But then after the earthquake happened, I went to that orphanage and I actually moved down. And there were several children abandoned with disabilities after the earthquake, not necessarily disabilities that happened from the earthquake, but because their parents no longer had the means to take care of them, they would abandon them at like makeshift hospitals. So then that little group ended up being the group that I just took care of, and I have an education degree. So I set up a little special needs school for them to come to every day. And I worked with their Haitian caregivers who had never taken care of children with disabilities before. So I worked with them to equip them with the skills for around the clock care for those kids. And then through that, I met Papito and his son, Chris Jerry, and Chris Jerry was 2.5. Papito came to church at the organization I was working at, and he didn't bring Chris Jerry at that time. So we just met and talked after. He told me a little bit about his son and the benchmarks that he wasn't meeting, and I told him to come the next day. So he came the next day, and we met each other, and that's when I realized that Chris Jerry had cerebral palsy along with our nurse. So we delivered that news to Pepito, and that's kind of where Pepito's journey of having a child with special needs jumped into play. So I'm going to let you tell your story, Pepito, and we'll go from there.
I'm Papito. I'm a Haitian citizen, and I lost my mom when I was 10, and 9 years later, I lose my dad. So I become an independent young man, often like going myself. I didn't have an opportunity to go to college, and I have some professional skill, and I said, let's start working. So I ended up working with NGO. From then in 2009, I have Chris Cherry. When I have Chris as my son, I didn't know if he's disabled. Every time I went to hospital, doctor tell me like he's gonna be able to walk, he can talk, but he just delay. I said okay. And when he's 2.5, I realized like nothing happened. I keep searching for opportunity. And this is when I went to church and met Heather, and she said, "Where's your son?" I said, "He's at home." I didn't bring him because I want to talk to you first. Like he said, are you looking for opportunity or to give him to the orphanage? I said, nope, I'm not giving him away. I'm looking for opportunity to see like what I would there for him, like because I don't know. And he said, okay, can you come tomorrow at 9 a.m. wait for me on that bench? I said, yes. At 8:55, I was there, and when she come, he said, what? He said, glad you are here. It's first Asian. I tell them 9, and they are here before 9. And this is when we went to the clinic, and one of that church at the hospital there, like they have a nurse, and she said, do you know your son disabled? I said, no. He said, okay, that's called CP. Like they explained to me what it is, and he's disabled for life. You're gonna need to live with that. So what do you think now? I said, I still gonna keep him, but I just want to make sure what I do because I don't know what to do. He's been sick a lot. He said, okay, we're gonna help you. And they said, we have this program, this how we're gonna help you. And had explained to me everything. And we start here. And from there, we move to Northwest.
Yeah.
And
So at that point, I had felt like God was calling us to do more in the disabled community of Haiti. And so we found an orphanage of just children with disabilities that was not doing very well. And so we decided we would go there and help out some friends of ours that were there. And so we served there for 9 months together and really just helped them with their staff and a lot of the administrative processes. To hold that orphanage and get it stable. And we're really happy that still today that orphanage is going great and the kids are thriving and doing very well. So that was a 9 months of working alongside of each other 24/7. And so through that, we pretty much fell in love and got married pretty much after that. And then we started Footprints of the Sun. But yeah, so that's kind of the backstory of us.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about Footprints of the Sun and what that is?
Sure. So after working at two different orphanages, I really got to thinking, how can we reach these kids and these families before they hit that desperate place of we have no other option but to leave them? Um, and so that's kind of where our heart was going, deciding what kind of ministry we would start together. And Pepito was pretty much like, why can't we do what you did for Chris Jerry and I on a larger scale and reach many families instead of just one or two families? Um, and so that's kind of what happened with Footprints of the Sun is Chris Jerry and Pepito's story was really the building block. It was the first foundational piece of Footprints of the Sun. And so Footprints of the Sun just started. We're in Northeast Haiti. Um, we opened in 2000.
January 2013.
Yeah, 2013 in the very beginning, January, and we reached a couple families right off the bat when we moved to Terre Rouge, which is a small farming community in Haiti, in Northeast Haiti. So it's kind of between Cap Haitian and the border of the Dominican Republic. And God just works mysteriously. And our landlord's niece actually had disabilities. So Magina and her family became the first ones in our outreach program.
Yes.
And then it just so happened that Magina went to church with Juancito. And so then that connected us with Juancito's family. And then Juancito had a cousin, Evans, who wasn't walking or talking.
And they tell us about
And
it.
then they told us about Evans.
Okay.
So then it just, kind of snowballed and, all of the little connections once we kind
So how many families have you served at this point? Do you know?
For now or in the beginning?
for like now.
I mean,
For
like
now.
from the beginning to now, like how many in total have you guys served?
We start with one family, it's become two, it become three. Now we are about like 60 families.
We have about 65 to 70 families that are raising children with disabilities. But we actually have an
Adult
inclusion school
Mhm.
Yep.
on top of our outreach program. So the inclusion school has 160 students.
Wow.
So that's another 100 families that are met, even though they don't have kids with disabilities. They're still exposed to families with disabilities and have become friends over the years.
That's awesome. I feel like it's gotten a little bigger since I was there.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like to say we're a small organization, but now I think we kind of look at each other and we're like,
Yeah.
it's not very small
For
anymore.
people who like met us before, we said, hey, footprints grow a lot since I got here.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Can you, I mean, you've kind of talked a little bit about like what life is like or what people with disabilities face in Haiti. Could you guys go into a little more like detail, like what life looks like for people with disabilities in Haiti?
For sure. So when we first moved to Terre Rouge, it was a little hard. I mean, if it wasn't for our landlord, I'm not sure that it would have grown as quickly as it did. Just because families in Haiti typically keep their children with disabilities inside their homes for fear of judgment, critical
Yeah,
thoughts,
even discrimination.
discrimination, embarrassment, or they'll just be walked up and said, like, oh, you can't take care of that kid, you need to get rid of them, or your child has that disability because there's a curse on your
Right.
family. So they really keep them hidden. Um, so when we were there, they really needed to like feel us out to make sure that we were,
Actually gonna stand for them.
yeah,
Right.
Forceful.
yeah, that they could trust us in the community. And so yeah, there's just like a lot of judgment, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of discrimination, not just towards the children or the individuals with disabilities, but the whole family as a whole. um so that was a difficult barrier to have to kind of push through.
Sure. Thanks for that. So one thing I ask all my guests is like, what is your definition of inclusion? So, does one of you want to give me what your definition of inclusion is?
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Okay.
So my definition of inclusion would be community, rallying together to the support of everyone. Community is a huge piece of Haiti. Everyone needs everyone. It's not like the United States where everyone has their home and goes,
Right.
place
Yep.
to place. Everyone lives together, right? In Terre Rouge, there's actually very few homeless people because they're not going to let people sleep on the streets, at least in our community of Terre Rouge. If they see someone on the streets, you're going to
Someone,
be welcomed into a home
someone gonna
somewhere.
get you.
And say they're going to try to feed you what they have, even if it's just a piece of bread. So the inclusion aspect of like community, um, which is what inclusion to me really means, is a base of community and service to one another, commitment to one another, responsibility for one another, truly exists almost more in Haiti than it does here. Since we've come here to the United States with Chris Jerry, um, there's not that much, it's like, yes, like things are accessible and things are, he's entitled to school and proper medical care. But as far as like finding other people and being invited to events, we definitely have to seek that out more. So that's been interesting actually for me. And Pepito probably as well.
Yes.
Things are accessible, but that doesn't mean that like there's a team rallying around Chris Jerry and us as a family.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, you just think that's cultural reasons that's that way? Like Haiti's just more,
Yes. It is more
okay.
cultural.
It's more of a cultural thing where they're more, that's interesting.
I think it's cultural, and I would also just say people are so busy here, right? Like there's
Yeah.
like this laid back style of life, in
Yep.
Haiti you're living day to day to like meet your needs.
Yep.
And I just think the busyness, the hustle and bustle, You're not walking the streets here. You're getting in your
Yeah.
car and going to the next place. So I think that plays a huge part in it as well.
Yeah, that actually makes sense to me because I mean, one of the things I like about Haiti is, I mean, especially I talk about when I look at your place. I mean, what are we having for a meal? Well, I mean, somebody went out and killed a chicken in the morning, and we're having that and rice for supper. Like I don't have to like think about from my 100 options what I'm having. It's I mean that's what I'm eating. So just the simplicity of it, I enjoy, and then just I could like go out and walk around and just kind of like you're saying, just it's more way more laid back and less busy. That I think has a huge impact on it.
For sure.
Yeah, that's interesting though. That's interesting
Yeah.
though because I mean, in the U.S. we have all this stuff. I mean, I don't remember the statistics anymore, but people in Haiti, how much they make a year versus how much like I make, and just because I have more, money and resources doesn't mean my quality of life or my child with a disability's quality of life is better necessarily just because of that. So that's interesting to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. So like children with disabilities in Haiti, they're not granted access to schools.
Yep,
But that's why we started our school. That was
for
like
sure.
pretty evident that that was a need of the families. And then through that, just, having other kids, typical learners, coming and learning with the children with disabilities just provided this cool aspect that is not seen in Haiti at all. But those inclusion students, our typical learning students, come from really rough backgrounds, the poorest of the poor.
Right.
And so they were pretty much denied the opportunity to education as well because they
Okay.
couldn't afford it. Um, so they kind of were on a level playing field there. And so that's been really cool to watch, how that school of community has happened within this small farm community. And it's like some of those kids have been together 8, 9 years.
Yes, long.
Yeah.
But
And it's like, I know Subeki, like, even if something were to happen to Toto's family, like, Subeki's going to step in and be like, Toto, you're coming with me. Like, our family's going to take care of you. Like, I don't worry about, any of our kids with disabilities if they lost their parents. Like, I know someone from our school, whether it was another family or a teacher, would step in, which is really, really neat.
Yeah. I mean, now that you just talked through that out loud. I mean, Cece now she just turned 22, so she aged out of the education system or the K through 12 through transition education system in the US, and she's getting older. I'm getting older, so one of my worries, is I'm getting older. What if I can't take care of her? What if, I pass away before she does? Who's going to take care of her? So that's you sharing that and how you're not really worried about somebody taking care of those kids and adults in Haiti is it's interesting to me how, like talked before, how the U.S. we have all this stuff, but I'm still, as a parent, worrying about who's going to take care of her when I'm not around. And I feel like part of it is like what you're saying, where we just, when I was growing up, I mean, I knew all of my neighbors. We knew each other. We borrowed sugar from my mom borrowed sugar from the neighbor. We talked to each other a lot. Now it's just you go leave your house, go somewhere, come back. Don't really talk to your neighbors, and it's just an interesting shift for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, even with Chris Jerry, I think if we were in Haiti, if something were to happen to us, like
Right.
someone would take
someone would take care of him, someone would
Right.
step in. And
someone in the family.
I mean, it helps that the legal processes wouldn't be as daunting either.
Right.
But here it takes more planning, it takes more thinking, it takes more talking to those individuals that would get him. So yeah, it's definitely a different situation here.
Yeah, I think you just kind of mentioned something like rules or just stuff. Do you think part of it is just in the US maybe we have some services, but there's just so many rules and policies involved that makes it complicated, whereas in Haiti you can kind of just somebody can just, he can live with us, we'll take care of him kind of a situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely still like Haitian Child Services, which does a
Okay.
great job of, taking care of making sure that things are, on the legal end correctly, and that, you know, kids are being taken care of. But yeah, I mean, there's so much red tape here, with insurance. It's like you never really know. In Haiti, it would be like great if these kids were offered the same medical care as the kids here are getting. But like in Haiti, you wouldn't call an insurance company. You would pay whatever it is out of pocket, which obviously the families have no means to do. Um, I don't, it's just very
Yeah.
different. Yeah. I don't know that I would say one is better than the other, but
Right.
it's definitely different.
Yeah. It's interesting. So you guys how long have you guys been living in the US then with all the stuff going on in Haiti? Or
Yeah. So I lived in Haiti for 12 and a half years. Our youngest son, Jude, was born without, well, we're going through the process of adopting him, but he was born without limbs. So I came with Jude in June of 2021, for prosthetic care, and then, on a medical visa. And then our daughter Naomi was able to come April of 2023. And then
okay.
Papito and Chris Jerry were finally able to join us September of 2023.
Okay.
So now we're all under one roof after a couple years. But Pepito does go back and forth, to Haiti and here. He went to Haiti for the month of July, and then he just got back from, being in Haiti for 5 weeks. So
Okay.
he's definitely still like very hands-on,
Yeah.
with the ministry there. And then I kind of run the backside of it, the administration, the supporters, the
Sure.
accounting, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Um yeah, it's just so much we could talk about. I love Haiti. I I mean, yeah, it's just impacted my life so much being there. I mean, I've been there how many times is that? I was there 3 times. I think it was 3 times, right? Yeah. Came to see you
Yeah,
guys a
you
couple
brought your
times.
mom that one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I
Everyone
did.
loved Mama Peg.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, up in Port-au-Prince is just I mean, there's not as much vegetation and trees up on where you guys are. It's just more farming, which I'm kind of used to, more greenery, more stuff. So it's really pretty up there. So that was a lot of fun. Even got grandma Mama Peg on moto. That was fun.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. The motorcycle taxis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was
mean,
fun.
there's stuff like that too. Like we throw a kid with disabilities on a motorcycle taxi being held, like without even thinking about it. It's
Yeah,
like here, it's like, do we have the special straps for them? Do we,
right.
like, so it's
That's
taken a
interesting.
lot for us to adjust to the difference, in
Yeah.
culture too. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how old is Chris Jerry now?
He's 15.
He's 15. Okay.
Yes.
So how has school for him been in the U.S. then? How's that gone?
School's fine. Like he's doing great. Like you can tell like they make him work at school because he'd come back tired.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, he's in the public high school here. It was kind of a lot of red tape to get him
To him and
in, because when my daughter came, it took like 2.5 weeks for us to get her like in the school system
Sure.
done. For Chris Jerry,
I
they
think it's
definitely
three
drew it
months.
out a lot longer. I think they were nervous, to accept a child like Chris Jerry into the public high school. We have a school for children with cerebral palsy, pretty close to us. And
Okay.
so most people would send their child there.
Sure.
But they, one, were already full, and two, required an IEP, which obviously Christian came to Haiti with none of that.
Right.
So there was like a lot of learning on their end of like, how are we going to navigate this? We don't even have a child in a wheelchair in our school.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but then once we got to the teacher level, she was like, "Oh, I used to work at that school with kids with cerebral palsy." She's like, "I can't wait to have him in my class." And
Okay.
so once we got through administration, the school part has been amazing. I mean, there's 4 kids in his class with 2 adults.
Hmm.
Anything and everything that they've wanted for him, they've been able to get, and their teachers like it's probably because she's never asked for anything in the past, because her kids haven't qualified or needed it. So she's
Okay.
kind of enjoying that aspect of it. So
Sure.
he's definitely spoiled.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, we've always just wanted him to be really, really loved. Cognitively, he's pretty low functioning. So it's evident that he is very loved, and but they definitely make him work because he comes home and he automatically falls asleep as soon as those shoes come off. He
Sure.
is asleep. And I mean, I just remember the first week in his little notebook, his teacher wrote like, I made him help me clean his food bowl and stuff like that. So yeah, she's really great with him, and she wears him out. So, and
That's
he
great.
doesn't like the early mornings. His bus picks him up at 6:50 in the morning.
Yep.
That's pretty early.
He's a true 15-year-old boy.
Yeah. So does he have an IEP now then?
He
Or
does have an
okay.
IEP now. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That is interesting. You talk about when dealing with the administration, it was more complicated. Once you got to the teacher level, it went better. That is kind of a thing I've seen too, where it's the administration kind of sets the tone, and it's hard if they think a certain way. And often, if you can get connected with the teacher, it goes much smoother. So yeah, it makes sense to me also. What is one tip you can share to my listeners today where they can be more inclusive? So just something simple. They don't have to take a class, spend money. Just what can people do today just to be more inclusive?
Go ahead.
I think just, when you see a family here, whether it's like out shopping or whatever, don't make it a big thing, but just, you can say hi, acknowledge, don't look the other way. Like,
Right.
please, like, we want to be acknowledged. We want
Yeah.
our child to feel part of. Um, we went to a art festival last weekend, and there was like this participation for children, and they let Jude do it and they let Naomi do it. And like, they kind of didn't even look at Chris Jerry. Not that they wanted to leave him out, but I think they didn't know how to invite him in.
Right.
So just if you're in one of those situations, just it would have made the world of the difference. Like, oh, do you want to help? Do you want to help him, participate in this as well? Or, we would love to figure out a way to, to help him do this as well. And as parents, like that's what we want. We want to be invited in. We want to be, you know, make sure all the kids are included. So yeah, I just think just that invitation in is huge. And
Yeah.
then for maybe some of your listeners who don't live in a huge community with children with disabilities, I would go ahead and expose your family to it early so that they're not adults and, for the first time in the situation. So, like, even if that meant Google searching, organizations that work with individuals with disabilities, they don't have to be in your neighborhood. You don't have to like get in the car and go drive to them. But like, I know we as Footprints of the Sun, if someone were to reach out to us and be like, hey, I really want to know more because I want my child to know more, what do you have that we could help engage our family in? Like, we would make it happen even though the physical meeting might not
Hmm.
happen. So I just, yeah, seek it out and then
Yeah.
invite it in.
That's great. So what are the future plans for Footprints of the Sun? Any big plans, or just continue to do what you've been doing, or?
Yeah, so for the most part, I mean, we like what we're doing. Obviously, giving has definitely slowed down with
Mm,
the economic status that's happening in the United States right now. Um, with people not being able to go to Haiti, there's this, we can't see it, we can't do it, so we can't
mhm.
give to it. Um, or they like to be hands-on with it. And so that has been really hard for us in the last few years because it's not safe for people to travel down
Sure.
there.
Yeah.
Um, so we've really looked at like sustainable ways of continuing what we've started rather than really growing more. At this point in time, we really can't grow more. We need to, obviously every year in the school we add a grade. So this year we're from 3 years old through seventh grade, like building more classrooms, getting more desks, getting more chairs. So I think we probably take in 11 to 12 new students each year. So just making sure we can keep up with that. And it's not just offering them education. When they come into our school, they get medical care, they get lunch every day, and they get their education. So just making sure we can get to a sustainable spot is kind of where we're at growth wise. And then, like you said with Cece, a lot of our kids are getting older.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at what does that look like? What does adult education opportunities look like? What does making them part of the community look like as an adult and no longer a child? So, whether that means a chicken coop, some of our kids could do mechanic school,
Okay.
or just finding spots in our school for them to jump in. So, do you want to say like what Subeki's doing right now, our oldest?
She's one of our oldest, and he's the one ringing the bell for research, like when school over. So like that's part of his job. He helped them like putting water in the water bottle for the student, because like we don't have the water system in Haiti like here. You can fill up
Right.
your bottle. We have a water cooler where we can, like, everyone has their bottle and they go fill it up. So he helped with a lot of those things.
Sure. That's great.
So just giving him some small responsibilities
Yeah.
now to teach him, the consistency of a job, make sure you're always doing it, being self-motivated to do it. And then he does get paid each week. So then like learning how to manage small amounts of money is kind of where we're going with him. And he's kind of our little tester.
No, that's awesome. So yeah, you're trying to teach some job skills for him. That's great. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so.
Don't
I
think
think we
so?
pretty much say anything.
Yeah, we really appreciate you inviting
Yeah.
us. I know we're probably different than most of the people you interview, and I know you
Yeah.
had said we're the first two two in one interview.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for inviting us and having us.
Yeah, for sure. I got one more question. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you like spam? Yes or no?
No, absolutely not. Have
Neither
you
one
ever
of
had it?
you?
No, I never had it.
Pepito
Never
doesn't
had it?
know because he's never had
Never
it.
had it? Okay. Yeah, so I have. So I live in Austin, Minnesota, where Hormel is from, where they make spam and the spam museum is. So I've been asking all of my guests if they like it or not. So I
I
will.
guess I'll
So
have to get back to you on whether Pepito likes it or not, but it is a definite no for me.
that's the fun. That's the interesting thing. It's usually either way. It's a strong answer. Usually, if it's either yes, it's strong. No, it's strong. There's not really an in between with it. So that's what I found anyway.
Awesome.
Where's the best place everybody can connect with you?
Yeah, so we are actually revamping our website. Right now it kind of is a placeholder, but that is where you can find more information, www.footprintsofthesun.org. But really you'll get more up to date, more frequent updates on our social media platforms, Facebook for Footprints of the Sun and Instagram Footprints of the Sun, and there's an underscore at the after the N. And so we really keep that weekly updated.
Okay.
So yeah, and you can reach out to us. You'll get me on the other end. It's a one-man band over here with that. So
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks
all
for being
right.
on the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah. To all of you listening, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Inclusive Dad Podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, rate, or review the show. Your feedback helps us connect with more champions of inclusion. Remember to share this podcast with friends and family who might benefit. If you want to support us in our mission, please click on the link in the show description. Together we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.